who actually won the Afghanistan war? Who actually won the Afghanistan war? Who actually won the Afghanistan war? I'll tell you who won the Afghanistan war. You had Northrop Grumman, you had Boeing, you had Raytheon, you had DynCorp, KBR, Floor, some corporation, F-L-U-O-R, not flour, but Fluor Corporation. They got $4 billion for logistics. So the Floor Corporation, KBR, DynCorp, Boeing, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, and Raytheon. They all made bank. They make a shit ton of money. Now they're saying, we're comparing contrast to the stock market. If you would have invested $10,000 in the stock market, you would have got a return of about $62,000 in general, on average. But if you would have invested in any of these companies $10,000 in 2001, then you would have $100,000. So that's a 58% better return on the S&P 500. So these stocks are doing, kicking ass, taking names. We didn't do shit in Afghanistan, right? All the damn rockets and the helicopters and the guns and the grenades, we just basically just handed over to the Taliban, all the F-15s and the B-1 bombers and all the shit that they created, right? We just went ahead and handed it directly to the Taliban. That's $2.3 trillion. $300 million a day. $300 million a day, and we're borrowing this money, so we're going to have to pay interest on it. And then by 2050, this $2.3 trillion war is actually going to end up costing us $6.5 trillion. So that's probably the number we should use, right? Because that's what we're going to pay off, the number, the total amount, not the amount that we borrowed, but the interest plus the principal. So this war cost us $6.5 trillion. And what do we have to show for it? Nothing. The people of Afghanistan, the people of America have absolutely nothing to show for it. But, the logistics, $4 billion, Floor Corporation, the corporation, they're run by, people too. Let's check out this Floor Corporation. Who is, the CEO for the Floor Corporation? We got to make sure the CEO of the Floor Corporation and KBR, I don't even know what KBR stands for. But the Floor Corporation, American multinational engineering construction firm, headquartering in Irving, Texas. So we're looking at the CEO. Who is the CEO? The founder is John Simon Floor. The CEO today is David Constable. So David Constable needs to eat. David Constable needs to eat. He was able to figure out how to get $4 billion from the American taxpayer into his company for logistics. Logistics? What are we doing with motherfuckers are just capitalizing on words now? Logistics? Well, what were the logistics of winning the damn thing? What about the logistics of withdrawing? The logistics of this thing was fucking terrible. DynCorp International, they got $2.5 billion. What they get $2.5 billion for? To equip and train the Afghanistan police force, the ones that just give up, right? Also, they were the bodyguards for Hamid Karzai, so they provided the Secret Service. DynCorp is providing the Secret Services for Hamid Karzai. How come he doesn't have his own government men? DynCorp, an American corporation, is going to secure the president. KBR, what the hell is KBR? Let's check that out. KBR. Now, you have, 250,000 people were killed, right? And that includes a shit ton of innocent civilians, like 50,000 innocent civilians. In terms of American troops, 2,500, and then 3,000 contractors, so about 6,000 Americans. 6,000 Americans died for this war. 6,000 Americans died, 250,000 people died overall, including the shit ton of Pakistanis. Pakistanis, like 70,000 Pakistani people died. And this is going to cost us $6.5 trillion. $6.5 trillion. Boeing, they make B-1 bombers. They make B-52s. They make C-17 cargo jets. They make V-22 Ospreys and F-15s and F-18s. Northrop Grumman, they make B-21 bombers. General Dynamics, they have these 8-wheeled tanks, these LAV-25, these LAV And they're also making nuclear submarines. That's their money maker, right? So we're making nuclear, equipped submarines. Nuclear equipped submarines. Why? Because we got a million nukes, but we got to keep on making more nuclear shit. Then Raytheon, and then what? Nuclear submarines for the Afghanistan fight. Raytheon, we trained the Afghanistan pilots, the Air Force pilots. That's what Raytheon did. They also are working on a nuclear missile. So we're going to have a nice nuclear missile coming from Raytheon. We're working on nuclear submarines coming from General Dynamics. And then you have, lasers, internet, robots, and shit. So that's what Raytheon is doing. You want to talk about, goddamn motherfucking conspiracy theories. You have Raytheon. They're making, little tiny fucking mosquito robots to... My God, this is Lockheed Martin. They're making Black Hawk helicopters. We didn't just give the Taliban guns and rockets and grenades. We also gave them a shit ton of helicopters. Why don't we, the military-industrial complex, they want to make so much fucking money. Why don't you just, get the American government to buy all this shit to pass out to us? Why are we passing out helicopters to the Taliban? Hey, you want to go ahead and make some grenades and helicopters? Why do we want to make grenades and helicopters to give it to the Taliban? Right now, the war budget for the forever wars, because we're in, 150 countries, 750 military bases in 150 countries, and you have the 20 shadow wars, and then you have, some hot wars, right? There's still Libya still going on, and Iraq and Syria. Iran, apparently, we're kind of nudging up against Iran. So the war budget used to only be $300 billion in 2001. This year, we passed a $754 billion war budget, 2021. So when it comes to solving homelessness, we can just, calculate it real quick. So it takes what? Let's just assume it takes $10,000 per home. So if you had $10,000 per home, and we got 500,000 people, how much is that? That's 500,000 times 10,000. And what do we get? $1, $2, $3, $5 billion. So with $5 billion, we can end homelessness. $5 billion. I've heard other people say $20 billion. Okay, $5 billion gets us there. $5 billion gets us to where we end homelessness. $5 billion, if we give a shit, if we reorganize our priorities, we can end homelessness today. We can build 500,000 tiny homes and get 500,000 homeless people in a home today with $5 billion. With $5 billion. So you have Lockheed Martin. We gave Lockheed Martin $12 billion for the F-35 stealth fighter. So we're making F-35s to the tune of $12 billion. We could have solved homelessness over 2 times over with $12 billion. But no, we needed these F-35s, right? We need all this fucking military equipment and shit. Meanwhile, motherfuckers on our streets are starving to death. They don't have a home. The richest country in the world. It is ridiculous for anybody in the richest country in the world to starve or to be poor. You should not be poor. When the richest country in the world, there should be no poor people in the richest country in the world, let alone homeless, people that don't even have a fucking place to go. And a lot of them are crazy, so they need help. They need, what the fuck? We're putting our crazy people out on the streets and then what, expecting that to not go bad? And then ExxonMobil. So that's the oil companies, right? To fight a war, you got to buy all that gas. You got to, create all that equipment, buy all that gasoline. So all the oil companies, right? But specifically ExxonMobil. So Jesus Christ. We're going to, $5 billion solves homelessness for America. We don't have $5 billion for America's homeless, but we got $12 billion for the F-35 stealth fighters. And then let's just go on. We got $754 billion. $754 billion. How many times could we have solved homelessness? Instead of, paying for the empire, $754 billion. Let's see, divide that by 5, right? $5 billion solves homelessness in America. So instead of spending $754 billion for empire, for America, If we would have used $754 billion to attack homelessness, we could have solved homelessness 150 times over. 150 times over. But instead of solving homelessness 150 times over, instead, we're going to spend a shit ton of fucking money to occupy the whole fucking world. And for what? We're not making the Afghanistan people, better. We're not making their lives better. We're not making our lives better. We're not doing anything. All this fucking money. What a waste. What a waste. My God, $754 billion. Just imagine if we would have spent that on our hospitals. If we would have spent that on internet for everybody. If we would have spent that on not just homelessness, but, fighting poverty or, a universal basic income. That could have been direct money that went into our pockets. 330 million Americans, $754 billion. We should get, a couple $1,000 out of that, right? But instead, our $20,000, we spent $20,000 apiece to, whatever the fuck the whole Afghanistan adventure was. I'm glad we ended it because every life that, died was a life that died in vain. And what's worse than a soldier, dying in vain is more soldiers dying in vain. All this reminds me of a quote that baby Bush, George W. Bush, had said. He said, "We may not like the leadership. We may not like the direction his leadership took us, but you cannot deny that George W. Bush led. You can't deny that he led. He might have led us over the cliff like a bunch of lemmings in mass suicide, Jonestown. He might have, crashed into the iceberg, but he was the one steering. He was the one steering. He didn't just keep the ship, tied up to the harbor and didn't do nothing. He led into the iceberg. So, yeah, I might not have liked the direction you went, but you can't deny that he led. That's saying something, right? I guess, okay, he led. He fucking led to where? To hell? In the handbasket? Oh, we're going to hell in the handbasket. Yeah, probably because, we traumatized the shit out of Afghanistan. This went on for 20 years. That means there's Afghanistan people that were born that's only known American occupation. That's all they have ever known was American occupation. They're 18, 19, 20 now. So I went ahead and explained what all these companies did. I don't know what KBR, I did type in KBR. KBR Incorporated is a U.S.-based company operating in fields of science, technology, engineering. Works in various markets, including aerospace, defense, industrial intelligence. After Halliburton acquired Dresser Industries in 1998, Dresser's engineering subsidiary, the MW... So, yeah, Stuart Brady is the CEO since 2014. Stuart Brady needs money. KBR Incorporated, who knows what they do, but let's just give them, fucking $3 trillion. You know what? We could have actually just give this company fucking all the damn money, $6.5 trillion, and then just said, you know what, make a bunch of toys for America, and then pass those toys out to America. Give America, Uncle Sam could actually be Santa Claus, and Santa Claus could have actually passed all these military grades equipment. You know another thing for the military-industrial complex? Switzerland. They, for every male or every adult, they got to have 2 years of military service. That would be smart for the, military-industrial complex to do something like that, too. So there you go. There you go. Who's the winners? Who's the winners? Not Halliburton. I didn't see Halliburton's name, so poor Halliburton. I don't know, how Halliburton is going to eat tonight, but if anybody was worried about, Lockheed Martin or Boeing being homeless, don't worry. Raytheon, they're going to be, they own a lot of equipment. They have a lot of capital. They control a lot of people's lives. And they also make equipment that, kills people, too. So Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, these people are the ones that won the Afghanistan war. Nobody in Afghanistan, nobody in America except for these corporations. The Fluor Corporation, ExxonMobil, KBR, DynCorp, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Raytheon, and Lockheed Martin. So if you're like, man, I hope Lockheed Martin, I don't know if they're warm tonight. I hope Lockheed Martin has safety and security. We need to make sure Lockheed Martin is, you know, nice and safe and comfortable. Make sure they get plenty of money. Make sure we, $12 billion instead of building an F-35 stealth fighter, you know, in the last 20 years, we could have solved homelessness, you know, 2 times over, at least 2 times. We could have solved homelessness in 2010 and then come back in 2020 and solved it again. You don't want to get into the homelessness business, but you can, you know, every 10 years come in and just solve homelessness. You don't want to encourage it, but what the fuck? People need to live somewhere. That's like food and water. Motherfucker don't have a home. They don't have food. They don't have water. Huh. And then you're going to be shocked when they're attacking you. They didn't have food or water. They were sleeping on the streets, and they were fucking crazy. They were cold. The wintertime was right around the damn corner. You kept walking by. All they wanted was $1 to fucking get a Big Mac, and you just kept walking by. None of you motherfuckers gave a shit. All you motherfuckers have so much. Nobody should be poor in a rich society. Nobody should be poor in a rich society, but in America, lots of poor people, lots of homeless people. But when it comes to the military-industrial complex, there's one last point I'll make. When it comes to the military-industrial complex, people want to say it's just these companies. It's not just the companies. The military-industrial complex is also the deep state. Meaning the Marines and the CIA and the Army and the Navy and the Air Force. They all want their, you know, get their beaks wet. So they all got paid too. They all got paid too. The military-industrial complex, both the government, you know, armed forces and the defense contractors and the armaments industry, the weapons manufacturers, the weapons factories. So we can put our arms around what the military-industrial complex actually is. And, you know, they did well. They got paid. They got their money. They got our money. Didn't really do nothing for nobody, but they got our money. So, you know, congratulations once again in sarcasm, you know, with the dripping with sarcasm. To goddamn Fluor, KBR, ExxonMobil, DynCorp, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Raytheon, and Lockheed Martin, but not Halliburton. I wonder if Halliburton is homeless. Let's hope Halliburton isn't homeless. If Halliburton is homeless, we should give them $5 billion just to go ahead and get them a home, right? Just give them all the